Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the How to Film Weddings podcast. My name is John Bunn, and we have a doozy for you this week. Dryden and Emily from Wild in Rome Co. are with us, guys. Big deal today. They have a massive social media following. They have an event coming up for sale this week, the Art of Luxury Mediterranean Tour, a cruise tour around Europe, Spain to Italy to Greece. We talk all about that. We also dig into social media. They have, over 1 million followers across their social media platforms. And we just talk about the importance. Does that matter? What they're thinking about with social media, what you should be doing with your social media. We also dig into their networking and how they are getting in the room with certain people. I thought it would be like a 30 or 40-minute episode, and it pushed closer to an hour. So I feel really inspired after this. They give us all the details of their cruise that's coming up. They're starting ticket sales later this week. And so an incredible conversation. Before we move into this week's conversation, I do want to talk about our friends over at MusicBed. If you didn't know, MusicBed is the place that me and Nick exclusively use to license our music for our wedding films. They have all of the AI tools to help you find music that sounds like artists that you want. It helps. You can see the keys that the music's in. You can really do a ton of work with MusicBed. You can save a ton of time. So head over to howtofilmweddings.com/musicbed to check out promos, free trials, and things like that. If you really want to up your game for your music and your wedding films, MusicBed is where you want to be. Without further ado, let's hop into this week's episode with Wild in Rome Co. All right. Well, welcome to the How to Film Weddings podcast, Dryden and Emily from Wild in Rome. Why don't you say hello, introduce yourself. Who are you? Where are you? And why are you?
Hello, everybody. Dryden Glad here. This is my lovely wife, Emily. We are a destination photo video team. We're based on the East Coast, but we do most of our weddings all over the country and abroad. So we've been doing weddings together specifically for about 5 years now, 5.5 years, something like that. But Emily's been working with a camera her whole life, and she
Yeah.
got me into it when we got married, and that's what we've been doing ever since we got married. So,
Why are we?
oh,
That's
why?
quite a question. That
Why
one
are
got me.
Ooh, why are we? I mean, for me specifically, I mean, Emily, you can talk about your why, but for me, like I love to travel and I
Yeah.
love to connect with people. So doing destinations is a great way for us to be able to travel and for us to be able to spend time with people on a very intimate day, which is kind of like one of the best ways you can connect with people.
Yeah.
So I kind of get twofold in the job. And also, not gonna lie, I do love working with social media. So it provides me a lot of opportunity to do that as well.
Yeah, I'll kind of echo that. I really love the travel aspect, but I'm kind of in it for the art, right? It's just all about making art and having different I guess prompts for art. So that's
I
why
love
for me.
I love all of those things. I started asking that why question a few episodes ago, kind of as a joke, but I actually I like it because it gets people thinking like, oh, um, so you guys do a lot of destinations. Your work is insane. Obviously, very curated, beautiful portfolio, luxury weddings, high-end weddings all over the planet. And you started 5 years ago, which is insane. I know Emily, you said you had a camera since you were a little kid, that kind of thing. The art and the business, you guys have both of those things. Like the people person, the art person, the mix. It's just a really great combo. Why don't you paint a picture, what Wild in Rome, the business side, looks like in 2025? A little bit about kind of where you're like at and how many bookings that you would have, or kind of a price range that you're charging, how many weddings, even where you're going on some of these. Wow us a little bit before we get going.
Sure. That
Yeah,
sounds like a Dryden question.
sure. So I would say it was towards the beginning of last year of 2024, like January 2024, that we made the decision to go full speed ahead on pursuing the luxury industry and trying to switch over to that place. It had always kind of been our goal to kind of continue growing and just keep growing until we can't anymore. But it was in 2024 at the beginning that we decided, okay, it's time to make a concerted effort and really learn about this part of the industry and switch things, make the changes that we need to internally to start making that happen. So that has been our goal. That was our goal all throughout 2024. And 2025 is a lot more of solidifying a lot of the groundwork that we put in last year and continue. I think we've been really lucky to have a lot of amazing opportunities this year and last year that have helped us propel us into that luxury industry and just continue to try to grow in that space. So, for a long time, the only goal with our business was really to grow on social media so that we could get into more destination weddings. And now it's become about letting our foot off the gas a little bit in that area and refining our work a little bit more as we continue to connect with planners. And yeah, I would say planners are pretty much our number one priority these days. We heard this fun quote from James and Schulze, a really big wedding photographer. He said, at this point, my job, I'm a networker. I photograph maybe 7 days, 8 days out of the year, and I spend the rest of my time networking. So you really kind of learn when you get into the luxury industry that your focus shifts from the art to the business of things, which for me has been very fun because I'm definitely more of a business-minded person.
Yeah, we've been referring to 2025 as our cooking year,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, last
Got
year
a
was
lot of
our
irons in the fire.
yeah, last year was our
Things.
prep year. This is our cooking year, and next year is gonna be our presentation year.
Yeah,
But
that's the hope, right? But how many do we have booked this year? Do you know off the
yeah,
top of your head?
so yeah, last year we did 19 weddings, and that was as many as we wanted to do. And this year we are at, I believe, 10 weddings, and that's about all we want to do this year. We would maybe take one or two more if they come in with a planner that we really like, but our goal is to get to a point where we're doing what we're doing this year, which is about on average one wedding a month, is what we'd really like to be doing. So 10 to 12 weddings a year. We're right at the base of that, 10 weddings. So we're pretty excited about that as well. So I would say that's where we're at right now. We're at a place where our prices are starting at 15K and then the top range of those is around 40. So our wedding packages will range anywhere from 15 to $40,000.
And
And
that's based on, video only or photo only or both.
yes, yeah. Yeah, like the
Nice.
lowest thing we can do for a wedding is video only, and that starts around 15K, and then our photo plus video packages top out between 40 and $50,000. So
Incredible. I love hearing that. I love knowing that that amount is being charged out in the world. And, if you're out there listening, it's like, wow, that's crazy. They started in 2020. That's like when COVID hit. That was just like right around, like that's so quick, comparatively speaking. What you said about like with James and Otto about them talking about networking and that being the job. I analyze things a lot. I look at lots of wedding filmmakers and what they're doing and how they've made it work. And there's this recipe, you said you're prepping, you're cooking. There's this recipe where it's like social media is a huge ingredient for some people's recipe and for the plan for them to get to where they want to go. And I see a lot of people kind of elevate into luxury, and social media becomes less important, but also equally important in a different way. The networking with the planners, that sort of thing. When you're only trying to do 10 weddings, man, if you have 3 or 4 really solid wedding planners, it's just like, I'm good. But you have to still market. You have to still be out in front of people and things. And so like, if people don't know, you guys have a massive following online for wedding filmmakers' sake. You've 300,000 on Instagram, almost 700,000 on TikTok, just big following. And you, like you said, you spent a lot of time growing that. And, before we hit record, I said, the number doesn't matter, but it also does matter. Like if someone sees, whoa, they have 300,000 followers, there's some credibility to that planner or to that. So I want to kind of rewind and walk through your social media growth. We can do Cliff's Notes version of just kind of what happened, who started really focusing on social, when did it start growing, and then how did that kind of help propel you to where you're at today?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very fortunate. I actually got a degree in social media marketing. So I have a little bit of a background in that from college, which has helped immensely. But if anything, I think even more than like actual solid lessons that it taught me, it just helped put me in a mindset that was
Yeah.
that helped gave me kind of an innate sense with social media to kind of have a feeling for
You
when things would
really
perform well.
you
And
really have a good instinct.
yeah, and I think that comes from the degree. But we started pursuing social media growth probably within our first year.
Yeah.
It was a priority pretty early on. We knew almost immediately that, we live in the middle of Virginia, kind of in the podunk of nowhere, and we knew pretty early on like this is not where we want to be doing our weddings. We want to go to Italy. We want to go to France, to Mexico, all those lovely places. So we knew pretty quickly that social media was the best way to get our name in front of people that are all over the world. And it was one way that we could do it for free, without having to worry about paid ads, without having to worry about all these different things. It's a great place for us to get attention. So we started pursuing social media pretty early on. So for a long time, the whole point of the social media growth was to get into destination weddings and get our names out there. At the very beginning, we found our niche very quickly. One of my biggest things I always like to tell people when they are trying to grow their social media platform is don't reinvent the wheel. So go find several people who are performing really well on social media and are serving the types of clients you'd like to be serving and see what's working. It's a free test case of what is performing well, what kinds of trends are performing well, and what kind of content that your ideal client is responding to. So pretty early on, we knew back then a big focus of ours was like fun, high energy party
Party.
weddings. Yeah. So I found another lovely videography company out of Tennessee called Fox Weddings. And they loved to show these videos of people singing at the camera at receptions. And I was like, I love that. That's a great idea. That's so fun. I'm going to try to do my own twist on that, my own spin. And so I shot one at a wedding the next weekend where I was like, someone was singing and I like pointed at the camera and I told them to look at the camera and we posted the video the next day and in like 2 days, I think it got like 2.5 million views. And so from then on, we were like, all right, so for us, that's our secret sauce. Got
There's the
it.
formula.
There's our formula. So we for the first while we worked on that specifically. We honed in on that kind of party vibes, and that's what grew our name. And at the time, before we got to the point where we were pursuing the luxury industry, the purpose behind the growth was to get our name out there and to get found by a wider audience that we couldn't reach in our local market. Before I move on to like now, do you have anything else you want to comment on that?
Not really. I mean, Fox Weddings was really inspiring for the both of us.
Yeah.
And I feel really blessed that I am a social media princess and you take care of the social media for
Right.
me.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure. So, fast forward to now, especially last January, like you mentioned, the purpose of our social media following kind of shifted. And instead of it being a place for us to get our name out there and to get found for these destination weddings, it became a little bit of a selling point and a, proof of value to our potential clients and to our planners. So, when we were entering the luxury industry, we had some great content, but not a ton of luxury content. So having something like I Have Following helped planners feel a little bit more attracted to our work, even without that. And the other thing that really helped that we actually recently kind of thought about it from this perspective was that planners can sometimes be attracted to someone with more followers, not because it means they're good, but it means that when they share the work from the wedding, their work is being seen by more people. Planners who work with us know that their designs are going to be seen by hundreds of thousands of people, and
Yeah,
they that is one place where a lot of people say, "Oh, followers don't matter; they don't make a difference." I'm like, well, there are some places where it can have an advantage to other vendors that you're working with as well.
right. And for me, just having the platform to elevate that art is so incredible. Especially just people that are wonderful people and deserve the attention. They've put in so much incredible work and so much time into these designs. And so being able to help elevate that is just a
Mhm.
huge privilege.
Yeah.
I like hearing both sides of it because it's like the art is so important to share and to show. And it is true. Like when you have that many people that you know are going to be seeing it, it's just like, hey, this beautiful work that you've done isn't just going to be seen by the 100 people at the event. It's going to be seen by 1 million people, or tens of millions of people throughout, the country. Quick question on that too, because so you mentioned Fox Films, you mentioned starting to grow. Was there a consistency that you had to be or do to really start to see that happening? Like, what was obviously your social media degree, your eyes are lighting up, but so like, what is it, someone's out there and they're maybe in the section of their business where they are trying to get that growth. What advice would you have for them? And what did you do? Would you do anything differently now in social media with 2025 being a whole new monster?
Absolutely. So the first thing I always tell people when they come to me with this question is, and as annoying as it is, you do need to evaluate a little bit on if growing on social media is even the right move for you. Because I know a lot of people that have come to me be like, how do you grow on social media? How do you do this? I'm like, well, where do you do weddings? They're like, within like a 20-mile radius of myself. I'm like, do you want to keep it that way? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, well, then you don't have to be too worried about growing on social media. It gives you a little bit of a proof case and it gives you some credit, but it's not as big of a priority for you, and that's okay. So I always tell people to like make sure you're putting your efforts in the right place. But if you do decide you want to grow and you kind of want to expand your reach, and do keep in mind what I'm about to say, this is just what worked for us. This is not like a one size fits all,
There's
and
more than one way to skin a cat.
there's much more than one way to skin a cat. So there's always a little bit of pushback on this. But for us personally, one, it was posting every single day on both platforms. Like we wanted to grow on TikTok and Instagram. So it was posting every single day on TikTok and Instagram. We found our ideal time for our content performed well for our audience, through testing out a couple different things. But like we know, for example, we post at noon every day. We post at noon, especially when we are trying to grow. We post at noon every day. We've pulled back a little bit, but yeah, we post at noon every day. We post every day. We focus on what's trending, what's working, what's performing well. I spend a lot of time on the Reels page on Instagram, just scrolling and looking at what's performing well and what's what kind of trends are popular at the time. And that is a big arrow towards what I post. I also, throughout wedding days, I whip my phone out whenever I see something that happens that I think was really interesting or cute or a fun moment, and I have a list where I'm keeping track of all the things I want to make TikToks out of.
Would you say there's pretty much something from every single wedding that you write down?
Yeah, I don't think we ever really go a wedding that I don't catch at least one or two things. I'm like, that's gonna make a great TikTok. That's a great moment.
So it's this mindset that you have throughout the day
Constantly looking for it.
What is going to work best on social media.
Yeah. So honestly, consistency. And then the one other thing this is the thing some people disagree with, but when you're trying to grow and it comes to posting consistently, I think it's better to post B plus content than no content at all. A lot of people are like, oh, it's got to be perfect and it has to be the absolute best thing I can possibly produce. And sometimes the consistency is more important. And I don't think it's ever quality or quantity wins over the other all the time. There's a balance of trying to have a standard, but not having to produce absolute perfection in every single thing that you do.
Definitely not C or D content, though.
Yes.
Correct. No, I'm loving all this. We have plenty more to talk about, and we're going to do it right after this break. Before we get back into the podcast, I want to remind you of our friends over at howtofilmweddings.com/outsourcing. Are you looking to outsource some of your wedding films this year? Are you in backlog? You got to check out howtofilmweddings.com/outsourcing. We have vetted outsourcing partners and have a list that would work for your budget to help you get going on editing your wedding films, maybe helping you get out of that backlog today. That is howtofilmweddings.com/outsourcing for all of your outsourcing needs. Now, let's get back to the podcast. All right, we're back from break with Emily and Dryden from Wild in Rome, talking all things what they're doing in their business. We were talking about social media, and I want to dig a little deeper just on a couple of the things that you're doing and have done. So like you started really pushing, started being really consistent every day at noon. When do you start to see it turn? Like how long of doing this? I mean, obviously you've have a couple of videos really go, but Did you see it turn soon, or was it, and then let's just start there. When did you see it turn?
To be honest, I think it depends on the type of content you're sharing. I think some brands lend themselves towards more viral types of content, and some other brands lend themselves more towards a slow burn type of content that's going to need a more niche audience that's going to grow slowly. So for like example, our dancing videos that performed really well, those appeal to a very wide range of audience and performed really well on social media. So we saw a little bit of faster growth. For some people who might be a little bit more specialized as an artist or as a photographer and might not want to lean into some of the types of content that performs really well if it doesn't align with their brand, then they might have a little bit of a slower build. But overall, there is types of content that performs well, I'd say, in my opinion, for most brand types. So you can find some stuff that's going to perform. Some might be a little slower, but it will pay off. So that consistency and that faith that it will pay off is so key, and not giving up and just continuously trying to push. I always tell people, if you've gone 6 months of posting every day and you don't see any type of growth, it's not the social media's fault. You're not doing something right. You're not posting content of a certain quality or that aligns with your brand. So that is something to consider. We
When do you feel like you saw like the first big movements in our
in our following.
following? Yeah.
Well, it's funny you say that.
Because I remember sitting at Cedar Point and we were both
Yeah.
like eating at one of these diners and we're like, what is happening?
Whoa.
We're getting followers after followers after followers,
Yeah.
specifically on TikTok.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it started a few months,
Yeah.
a month to a few months after we were posting consistently. And the thing we do talk about a lot here in our office is social media definitely goes in waves. We have times of high performance and we have times of low performance, and it goes up and down, eases in and out in terms of when the consumer is attracted to the type of content that aligns with your brand and what you're posting. We have days where we had times on TikTok where every single video was getting at least 500,000 views for, a few weeks. And then we'll have times where it would pull back and be like 5K, 10K, 20K, and it would just up and down. And that's something you also have to prepare yourself for, because if stuff starts not performing as well for a little while, it doesn't necessarily always mean that you're the problem.
And I would say in general, it's better to ride those waves than it is to try to change your content.
Item. Yeah.
Obviously within like a certain range, right? You just don't want to change your brand up too much. That you can find little ways to pivot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's interesting too, and worth noting that for me, the goal of social media is not how many followers can I get, and I don't think that that's your goal either. Especially as you've, and a lot of people are like just posting stuff because they think it would go viral, or they're posting like, oh, that could be viral, but it has nothing to do with their brand. It's not aligned with who they want to reach and that kind of thing. And I love what you guys said about, if you're more niched in what you're doing, a slower grow and a slower burn is fine. Like there's nothing wrong with that. And I think a lot of people, even like the creators account on Instagram, it's just all they post about is how to grow, how to get more, followers, how to get more engagement, how to reach more people. And like, to me, with like what I'm doing with my brand, is like, I would rather stay at my 12,000 or so followers that I have and keep reaching those people and keep showing up to them, and like they're seeing my stories, because there's about 100, 200 planners that I've worked with that are following me. There's hundreds of brides that I've worked with and grooms that I've worked with that are following me. And I'm always doing things, and I want to ask you about this, but I'm doing things to follow bridesmaids and follow their, the team, and like really start to network. And that's what I kind of want to move into, is talking to you about using, you said now you're doing a lot of networking. When it comes to social media or just in general, I think that it's really important to have a strategy of like how you're going to stay in front of people that matter to your brand. Everybody matters, but like the idea of, oh, I'm just posting this because I think it'll get 1 million views. Like that's great for a season. But to me, I'm making posts because I know that the planners that are in my network are going to see it, or I'm making certain posts because I know that a bride that just followed me, that inquired with me, is going to see it, or, there's little things like that. And so I go in and if I book a new wedding, I'm going into the feed of the bride and I'm following all of her friends that she's posted her bachelorette party with. Trying to get it in, following and interacting with as many people that I'm going to meet in real life, because those people to me and my brand and the recipe of my cake that I'm making, those are the ones that find me and want to work with me. I'm not getting a ton of inquiries from, all the different viral videos that I have. So with you guys, with your brand, with what you're doing, how does networking really factor into that side of things? How are you using it to network with social media at this point?
Yeah. So I would say, first of all, there was a little bit of a shift in the types of content we were performing when we knew we wanted to start networking with planners more. There was a shift more towards showing off design more than we were before, showing off venues, showing off, florals, things like that.
We
Things that,
definitely did a refinement of our brand
yes.
at the time.
Yeah. And another thing that we do is we are constantly interacting with those planners on social media, kind of like how you just talked about, how you are constantly looking at the brides and their friends and following everyone who's on the bachelorette party. We are constantly looking for new planners that we love their work and we want to work with, and we're following them and we're interacting with them. We are commenting on all of their stuff. We have a favorites list. You know how you can favorite people on Instagram. And unfortunately, right now it's only up to 50 people. But we have a list of planners that we've all put on that favorites list. And every day we switch over to our favorites feed and we're just going through and interacting with all of that content to continue to get ourselves on their radar. Because eventually, when they see your name pop up there enough times, there's going to be, okay, who is this person? And they're going to go look at your account and see the kind of work you do. And it won't, especially in the luxury industry, something like that isn't going to lead directly to a booking because it's not like they have any reason to put their trust in the thousands and thousands of dollars of their client in you, but it is a way to start the relationship and start to open that dialogue between you and that planner.
Yeah, it makes your reputation precede you when you go to a networking event, and people know who you are.
Yeah, we were at a networking event in Palm Springs and we had a planner walk up to us and was like, I'm not gonna lie, I was a little scared to talk to you because I was like, I didn't know if you guys were gonna be super standoffish or what. But luckily you guys have been such a joy and that warmed our hearts because like we never want people to think that just because we have followers, we're gonna be like super full of ourselves.
Yeah.
But it was, yeah, it's definitely helped and opened doors. And I hope that answers your question.
Oh, it so does. Transitioning from that to the next thing I really wanted to talk about in networking specifically, you said you were in Palm Springs. Last I checked, Palm Springs is across the country from where you live. And I think the power of being in the room at these events is worth so much more than social media following. I know people that don't have a website that have maybe 5 or 10,000 followers, but they're booking $30,000 weddings because they've been in the room consistently. When did you guys really start to see the value of being in the room at whether, networking events, retreats, workshops? Like when did that start to come into play for you all? And what would you say to somebody in 2025 that is considering trying to like get out of their office and go be part of something bigger than themselves?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. When you're talking about being in the room, I can't stop thinking about when we were in Palm Springs at Kindred and we're sitting down at dinner and I just was saying to myself, I'm in the room right now. There are so many people all around me that do incredible, amazing work, both photographers, videographers, planners. It was just like a really humbling moment for me to feel like, holy crap, we're in the room. And so if I could go back to an earlier time in my career, I think I'd put myself in the room sooner. Am in this place where I'm a little bit more of a quiet type of person, and so I'm having to get used to networking with really important people, presenting myself in a way that comes across confidently but not cocky. And so I wish I'd had a little bit more practice earlier on personally.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say we really started trying to pursue putting ourselves in the room maybe middle of the last
Yeah.
summer. And we ended up going to RSVP in New York City. And it was like we were there once and we were like, oh yeah, this is what we're going to start putting our
Oh yeah.
efforts towards. Like, not only was it really cool to build a lot of connections there, but also it was inspiring to be among all those people that are doing such incredible things in the industry, and it was encouraging to us in our journey, and it felt so incredible to be able to build these in-person relationships with these people. And, very quickly going to these networking events, you learn that there has to be a mindset shift from trying to go to this event to get bookings and trying to go to this event simply to build relationships in the industry. And it has to be more than just like yeah, okay, I'm going to be there to build relationships that will hopefully turn into bookings. It has to be like an actual change at your core of like, no, I want to meet these people. I want to get to know them. I want to build relationships with them. And if we get the chance to work together, great. But if not, that's okay, because at least we've built this incredible relationship. And in the end, as much as it might not always seem like it to people who want to get bookings, that is going to be so much more valuable than just going in with this mindset of, all right, what can you do for me?
You can tell when people are thirsty at these kinds of events. They're walking around handing out business cards or trying to, and there's so many more opportunities now than when I started, for events like Kindred or, different events across the world to connect. And if you're out there listening and you're like, I don't want to travel across the country, there are local events in every major market where you can get out of your comfort zone. I was asked to do an open house for this beautiful Italian museum in town 2-3 weeks ago. A couple of the best planners in the state were there. I said yes. I took photos. I did the photos for free. I took photos of all their details. It opened up the door for me to see them. I've already made relationship with them. I've already done weddings with them. But lo and behold, guess what's happened in the last week since doing that? 2 new inquiries from 2 different planners because I was there, and they're both very high, $15,000 to $20,000 bookings they will be. And it's just like the idea of that consistency, that needs to be, as the business hat, you wear your business hat. How can you be consistent? Can you be consistent with B+ to A- on social media? Like, I want A+ as an artist always, but like, it would be better to be consistent. And it's like, I would love to go across the country to Palm Springs on the thing, or maybe you're not in a position where that's something that's feasible. What can you do with what's in your hand right now? Where can you go to coffee with somebody? Where can you, like, the networking, the consistency with that over time? A lot of us think, well, I didn't get any bookings this year. And I can't tell you how many times, not just with planners, but with networking with the bridesmaids and networking and following along and doing just this long game approach. I just booked a wedding for next year, a little over 20K. And it was, oh no, it's this summer. I'm sorry. It's this summer, and it's in North Carolina. Cool. From somebody that was a bridesmaid at a wedding in 2021. She follows me and told this new person about me. And the wedding was in Charleston. So I did a wedding in Charleston in 2021. Somebody was friends of a bridesmaid, followed them, and then told this new bride about me, and I've got a $20,000 booking. And that kind of stuff doesn't happen if you're short-sighted. And so as you are building your brand, enough about me, as you're thinking about your brand and building it, what kinds of things, you said your mindset has to shift. What causes you to say, we have to be at that event, or we have to do that thing, or we're going to offer that free thing for the planner? Like, what is in the front of your mind of like, this is a heck yes, we have to do it? What kinds of things are you looking for in your quest to become even, higher end, more luxury, more couples that you want to work with?
Sure.
It's a great question. We all know that running a business takes a lot of time, and it's very time intensive. So you can't be spreading your wings too wide. You can't be, you have to be a little particular with who you choose to interact with and who you choose to spend your time with, not because whether or not they're good enough, but because you only have so many hours in a day, and you want to make sure that your time is being spent well. So a lot of the things we are looking at when we are considering planners to connect with and try to interact with is we're looking at branding, seeing how well our branding aligns. We're looking at the types of clients they're serving. We're looking at the locations that they are, they're planning in. Another big thing that we do sometimes is we look at what kind of photos are they sharing on their feed. If their Instagram is all light and airy photographers, clearly they have a style of who they like to refer to their clients, and it might not be as big of a priority for us to pursue that. Not that saying we won't, because you never know when that planner is going to have that client come along that says, I don't want that bright and airy, I want this. And they're like, oh, I remember Wild and Rome. They were so great. And they were a little bit, a little bit less light and airy, and then they can come our direction. So, not to say that those relationships aren't worth your time, but I would say those are a few of the things that we look at.
Yeah, making sure your branding aligns and your missions align. Also, for us, and this is just my opinion, another big factor with these networking events has been timing. I mean, are we available? Can this work out with our travel schedule? There have been opportunities that we've taken just by adding an extra day onto one of our weekend long wedding events or something like that to connect with somebody or attend an event. Um, it almost has to be kind of serendipitous, right? It has to work out.
Or sometimes you have to make it work. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's very interesting the amount of effort that needs to go into thinking about stuff like this. Whenever, like you said, it's like you're shooting 7 or 8 or 9 days a year, and the rest of the year, you're working on the image that you put out there, the connections that you have. And I do think it's really important for people to realize that they don't have to say yes to everything either. Like a newer venue in town, it's kind of a barn-ish venue. It's a nice place, it's nice, but it's going to serve the middle of the market. Reached out and was like, we love your work, we want you to be at our open house, we'll pay you a little bit, like. And I just looked at it, I looked at all of it and was like, not because I'm a jerk, but because, like you said, Dryden, like, we have a limited number of hours. It was like, it was going to be a Friday night on one of 38 weekends that I'm home this year, and I'm just like, this is not worth. Like, all I'm going to do is attract the wrong kind of people by being at this open house. But there are networking events in town with planners and event vendors and stuff like that. It's like, that's worth the time to make that happen. That's worth going to be part of that, and that society is worth it. And so you have to be paying attention to that more than ever. And I think a lot of us are just like, I'll get to that whenever I get to that. Let me just keep editing and we just kind of aimlessly aren't paying attention. But the people that I interview that seem to be taking those steps into the 10K, 15K, 20, 30, like pushing their prices into those markets that are like where everybody wants to be charging, they're paying attention to a lot more than just the films themselves. And before moving forward, I do have to say, you guys' films are ridiculously good. Like, the color is insane. The quality is insane. I want to talk a little bit before we talk about some pretty exciting things you guys are doing. Just in, like you said, the art needs to be, or at least a B plus on the social media. But like, everything you guys are posting is, I would say, very sick in a good way. How do you, who's doing what? How are you deciding? Because you're very stylistically unique. It's very appealing looking through your site, just the fast cuts, the color burns, like everything about it. Primo. Who is in charge of this? Who do I need to say they do a good job?
Well, thank you. First of all, we really appreciate that. So Emily does all of our photo editing. So when we do weddings, Emily is usually our photographer. I'm the lead videographer, and we'll have second shooters every once in a while. Maybe we might do a wedding together where we second shoot for each other, depending on what they've asked for. But in general, I'm doing all the video, she's doing all the photo, and that does extend to editing as well. So I do all of our video editing, she does all of our photo editing, and yeah, I actually had never really edited a video before 5 years ago when Emily got me into all this stuff. I had like one class in college with my marketing degree where they got me a little familiar with Premiere Pro, which I don't even use anymore. But like, So I had never really edited anything before 5 years ago, and I was self-taught. So, I did have my marketing degree. So when we got into this and Emily was like, "Hey, should we do this?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." I like put ourselves out there and I got us a wedding within like the next week or two. And I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna have to like edit that. I'm gonna." So I spent hours just dissecting films from videographers that I really loved, trying to take notes on their shot placement and their shot choice and their music and sound effects and all these different things, and just tried to learn as I go. And I just kind of self-taught along with some awesome education early on from like Jake Weisler, full-time filmmaker, all that stuff. So we I do. Yeah, I do all of our video editing.
Yeah.
I mean, little things. You mentioned colors. I do things. I do things the easy way. I don't like to. I like if I have something that works, I'm not going to overcomplicate it. It's like I don't shoot in log. I don't shoot. I don't bring any external lighting to weddings except for a little light that I put on top of my camera during dancing. I edit everything in Final Cut. I don't use like DaVinci or anything for color. Yeah, I'm pretty straightforward in my process. I like to make it as easy for myself as possible.
If it ain't broke, right?
Yeah, if it ain't broke.
I mean, sorry. I also think, what we could post that may seem B plus to you may not seem B plus to somebody else. And that is something that's really, really important for people to understand is there's so much perspective going around,
Mhm.
especially on social media, and especially when you have a wider audience. What may seem B plus to you as the artist may not be B plus to somebody else. It may be better.
And that is something that if you're out there listening and you're the purist and you're the artist, we love you. But you also need to hear that little slider that's just you're that meme and it's like 2 a.m, like a little brighter, a little darker, a little bright. Like there is the law of diminishing returns. And like if it's not broke, you don't have to fix it. Like you said, you obviously have studied and your edits are very tight and very slick and very well put together. And you're showing your brand in such a good way. I mean, every image is on point for the brand. There's not like a random shot on anywhere on your website that doesn't say Wild and Rome. Like it's exactly who you guys are. So when people find you, they know, yes, I like this, or no, I don't like this. And then they can move on instead of it being like, yeah, it's vanilla. It's fine. Like I like it fine, but you're not memorable and you are very memorable. And so I really like what you're saying about just like your B plus, is in the world an A plus plus to the majority of the people that are going to see what you're doing. And that's not giving us a pass to make crappy work because nothing that's on your feed is crappy at all. And so I just think people need to hear that. So
You are far too kind.
You're
And
so kind.
and to everybody listening, you have no idea how many times I've been like working on my social media posts for like 2 hours. I mean, like, I'm not happy with how any of this is coming together. I gotta post something, so I just throw something together at the end and I put it out there. And then like half the time that ends up being the post that people really like, and then they like comment on a bunch. And that'll definitely give you some perspective of like, okay, I definitely need to be a little less picky because clearly
Yeah.
people love this stuff.
That's why we say B plus and not, hey, the quality doesn't matter. You want to think about the quality. You
Yeah.
put a little bit of thought into that, but we're just trying to say maybe bring the standard down just a little bit in terms of, over criticizing yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And if your brand is it has to be A plus plus plus, and you have proof that that's why people are coming to you. We're not talking to the unicorns like that. Like the thing that I've noticed, especially with Instagram and TikTok, because the way that the social media landscape has changed, things are moving so fast. There's so much content that's being posted that if a post doesn't do, like I've been consistently really posting at least 4 posts a week since like September. And so 6, 7, 8 months of just very consistently growing, like doing all the things the right way. And it's just like, in 5 days, the feed, that post is just going to be down there. Like this morning though, a post that I made from like January or December just passed like 2 million views or something on Instagram. And it was 1 million last week. It just popped off like these random posts that I've, like it's an iPhone clip of me in Italy and it's just some text on the screen saying like something, whatever. and it like pops off, and I got another 200 followers today, a lot of which are from Italy, and it's like, ta-da, these are the kinds of people I want. So like the everything's moving so fast, and so if you can just realize that you're not that big of a deal, and it's going to be okay if it doesn't perform well, as long as it stays on brand. That consistency of the waves, like you're saying, riding up and down, are going to sustain you.
Sorry, I was just gonna say I love that's two things I love about posting frequently too is one, yeah, stuff is gonna get buried. So even if you didn't love it won't be at the top for very long. And very often on Instagram, reels perform a lot better than posts. So if you're focusing on reels, if you really don't like it, throw it to your reels only page. Take it off your main grid. You have flexibility like that. So there are definitely plenty of options. But the one thing I do want to add with that about B plus over anything at all. This is very much a conversation about growing your page and being consistent on social media. This doesn't apply everywhere. Like when it comes to building out your website that you want, that needs to be much more refined. I just want to make sure it's clear that everybody listening, we're not just building our website and being like, yeah, B plus content is better than nothing.
Oh yeah. And even since we've kind of shifted our perspective a little bit more to targeting very, very specific planners and clients and that sort of stuff, we've raised our standards personally.
Mm-hmm. Very good point. I'm happy you mentioned that because people will email me. It's like, you're saying we don't have to care about our business. No, that's not what we're saying. But I do think that there is a very valid point as to not take yourself so seriously. I want to kind of wrap up by talking about a couple of things. I know that being able to show the work that you really want is really important. And I know that there are, people that are like, yeah, this is great. I know what I want to shoot. I know what I want to show. But I don't have that kind of stuff in my, I don't have that wedding. I know what I want my brand to be, but what am I supposed to do? Just sit on my hands and wait? And that's not the answer. I want to give you guys a chance. You have an event, The Art of Luxury, the Mediterranean Tour Part 2 coming up. I'm really excited to hear from you. Give us this, like what this is, why you decided to create it, and then we can get into some details of it.
Absolutely. So the Art of Luxury Mediterranean Tour Part 2 is a unique retreat for photographers and videographers that we host on a cruise ship that allows us to do shoots in each port in different countries all along, in this case, for this one, all along the Mediterranean in Europe, and allows the attendees to build a destination portfolio from several different locations in a very short period of time. So rather than having to attend several different styled shoots or doing lots of different free weddings for travel only, whatever, you can go out in 1 week and fill your portfolio out with this incredible destination content.
Yeah. The idea really hatched from the two of us planning a cruise with our closest friends at the time. And I was like, man, what if I could do a styled shoot in one of those locations? Wait, what if we could do a styled shoot in every location?
Yeah.
And then we started looking into some other ones and found some in Europe. It was wild.
Yeah, we did our first one last year. It was the Mediterranean tour. We started in Spain and shot all throughout Spain, France, and Italy. It was a total blast. We did 8 shoots across 9 days. It was
too much.
It was such a blast, but it was a little overwhelming. So we had such a good time, and we learned a lot, and we're getting really excited for the next one. So we just recently launched the Mediterranean Tour Part 2. Before we venture out into other parts of the world and do tours in other locations, we wanted to do one more in the Mediterranean for everyone who didn't get a chance to come last year. It's going to be such a blast. We are going to be starting in Spain again, but we're going to be doing shoots all throughout Italy and Greece this time. We're going to be doing shoots in Rome, the Amalfi Coast, Mykonos, Greece, Athens, Greece, and then there's going to be a free day too in Sicily to just travel around and do whatever you want to do. So we decided this time that we wanted to elevate the experience and really start to pour some of what we've learned about the luxury industry into it and take it to another level. So this time we've pulled the reins in. We are going to do 4 shoots instead of 8.
We are
But
doing quality over quantity.
yes, quality over quantity. These are going to be full shoots. They're not going to, and none of them are elopements. None of them are just a bride and groom and a little sweetheart table. We're going to be having ceremony setups, reception setups. We even are going to have one shoot that involves an additional rehearsal dinner setup, and we have guests there for you to basically capture an entire wedding weekend in this destination. We're going to have one of the shoots with a bridal party. And on top of all those things, we're bringing in 4 guest planners who are luxury wedding planners that are each going to be planning one of the shoots so that you can capture a what is most definitely going to be a luxury design and have the opportunity to network with a luxury planner during that shoot. And then we are also going to have a different luxury wedding creative teaching at each shoot. So we can't reveal quite who yet, but we're going to have a different photographer or videographer that is going to be at each shoot doing education, teaching about the luxury industry, and shooting in front of everybody and showing everybody how they do things.
Whew, that's incredible. No, that is such a great. Do you have a cap on how many people that you? I mean, it's a cruise ship, but at the same time, do you have a cap on that? Do people need to hurry? And where do they go to learn more?
Yeah, we are capping it out at 30 people. Last year we had 20 and it was great, but the shoots were a little short for us. So we are going to allow a few more people, but we're also increasing the length of the shoots by almost double. Actually, I think entirely double. We are doubling the length of the shoots. They are going to be, between 5 and 6 hours long minimum. And so even though we're going to have 30 people there, the group you're shooting with will be no larger than 6 people. So it'll be you and 5 other creatives max who get to work with the models, get to work with the designs, and do everything that you're doing. So if you want to learn more, you can go to either the link in our bio or our website. There's a retreat section for creators. It is theartofluxury.wildandrome.co that you can go to and learn more about the Mediterranean tour. We're super excited. This year, we're going on an adults only cruise, which is going to be super fun with 20 different restaurants on board that are all included in your cruise fare. We have Joanna, who helped us out last year, who's coming back to design completely original dresses for all of the shoots. So all of the brides will be wearing gowns that have never been seen before, have never been worn before. We have a cake company doing some fake cakes who does all the cakes for the royal family and all of their events. So it's going to be incredible. It's going to be incredible.
No big deal. You mentioned the ship and everything too. What's it like? I mean, obviously you're going from port to port. Obviously you have a massive ship. You can go to do different things. Talk to me about the community side of this and what it felt like last year for you all with the community building and staying in touch with each other and just like the importance of community on an event like this.
Many of our attendees last year said that the community was their favorite part, even over capturing all of the content and just stuffing their portfolio with incredible stuff. They loved the community aspect of it all. We're all on one boat together. We want to go to the casino together. We're going to go to the casino together. We're going to eat dinner together. We're going to hang out. I'll see you at the pool, that kind of stuff. So the community aspect for us and for some of our closest friends was incredible.
Yeah, just having all that time to be able to there's not a lot of opportunities where you can hang out with 20 to 30 other luxury creatives or people that are in a similar place as you that are trying to get to the next level and just hang out in a pool and sip a cocktail over the Mediterranean, and the time for community was incredible. We even had set spaces and times where we all got together and did some joint editing for content from the day before, and it was so cool to see all of these creatives looking over each other's shoulders and sharing ideas and discussing thoughts and opinions on how each other shoot. Oh, why'd you do that? Why'd you do this? And just sharing all of that information with each other was so cool.
Yeah, and even we learned some stuff. It was incredible just to be around so many different perspectives.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an incredible event. We'll obviously post a link in the show notes and share about it too. And as this podcast drops, the tickets will go on sale just in a few short days. So you can actually get on a wait list to get early bird tickets and all that kind of stuff. And Whenever I heard you guys were putting this on again, I was like DMing you saying, hey, we got to get you guys on the podcast. We want to talk about this because what an incredible thing. Like, I think about 2007 when I started doing weddings and being like, who else does weddings? Let me look in the yellow pages. That's a phone book. Yeah, that you guys probably don't know. But, it's like, let's go to the local bridal show and see what everyone else is doing. And that was our way to network and market and just what the wedding education industry has turned into, and being able to go get these incredible shoots in these different countries and get to hang with people and grow. Wow. I mean, this is going to be an incredible event. So I really appreciate you guys. I think we could talk, before we hit record, I said, let's chat for 30 or 40 minutes. I think we're right at an hour. I know we could talk for hours and hours. We'll have to have you guys back on in the future. I'm happy we're able to make it work. Been a big fan of you for a long time. Before we go, is there anything else that you guys didn't say you want to add before we head out today?
It's a great question. Emily, do you got anything?
I can't think of anything.
Only thing I can think of is, guys, just remember you're running your own race, okay? Keep your head forward, keep your vision forward. Even I guarantee you that almost all of the people that are where you want to be are having the same imposter syndrome and the same comparison issues that you are, whether you believe it or not. So just remember you're running your own race, and stay focused on what you're doing, because that's far more important than what anyone else is doing. And John, thanks for having us. It's so great to chat with you.
Absolutely. Incredible advice. Thank you guys so much for being on. Thanks again, Dryden and Emily, for being on the podcast today. So much helpful information regarding our business, our social media, our networking, and also, my goodness, that Mediterranean tour with all the shoots and the luxury planners. You got to hop on that. Head over to wildandrome.co, check out and get on that wait list. Tickets are going to go on sale in a couple of days as we release this. So you definitely want to check that out. You want to go and see all the information. You can see a lot more of the details, the guest speakers, all that kind of stuff is going to be right on that website. So be sure to check that out. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Until next time, we'll see you.